Okay, so this is Modfest Orchestrator. It is a project management web app that I've built out using Blazor, utilizing a SQL Server database in the back end. The purpose of the orchestrator is to essentially just be a project management application for me, right? Somewhere that I am able to not only see the things that need to be done, but also insert ideas that don't really need to be actionable right away. Previously, I was using kind of Trello, and the one thing that I wasn't a super fan of with Trello was that, at a base level, without buying a bunch of add-ons and doing a bunch of customization, you didn't really have a conclusive way of tracking your progress. You just kind of had cards that you could mark as done or not done. But it didn't really give you a high-level overview of, what kind of progress you've made towards a particular build or release or even a feature. So I built this out here over the last week as a way to try and create something more conclusive to the way that I like to work personally. Full admission on my part, I love to jump between one project to the other. And I found that it was kind of hard to track the way that I was doing that just by having a bunch of tasks that needed to be done. I kind of lost track of the things that I was working on many times. So this application allows me to try and combat that a little bit and kind of embrace my more sporadic way of working without completely giving into it either. So we'll go ahead and we'll run through this here. So on the left-hand side, we have a list of all our projects, and I can even come in here and say manage projects, and I can add new ones or delete them, and kind of just get a general overview of what I'm working on. We also have our assets on the left here as well, and that is the individual animations, models, sound effects, whatever it is that I'll be creating throughout the process of creating these projects and combining them into one giant library with the intention of eventually releasing those out into kind of just like a public library for people to use in their own projects. But the thought is that assets are independent of a project. Although one asset might be used in a particular project, it might be used in 3 as well. And so I've separated those out. So we'll go ahead and we'll just start with our projects view. So if I click on one of our projects, we'll come in, and first thing we do is switch over to the dashboard. And inside this dashboard, you'll be able to see what is the latest information that we need to know about, what are the things that we've been working on. Up top, we can see what our current build is. If we have multiple builds out there, which one are we actually focusing on getting done? This allows me to kind of do a mini roadmap and say, okay, these are the next 3 builds that I want to work on. Here are the features that go into them. We also have our version number inside of here, and so we have our major, our minor, our build, and then the revision. So if I need to split those out for any reason, it's available for me. And then target dates as well. So if I want to say, okay, this needs to be done in the next 2 weeks, or maybe it needs to be done in a month or so, we can mark those dates here. We have our overall progress of this specific build, and then these are the individual task groups, as I'm calling them, that are a part of the build. They have been assigned to the build, and it lets me know how many tasks were in there, how many have been completed. We can see this one had 6 total tasks and 2 have been completed so far. If we scroll down a little bit, we also have our builds list. This will have more builds as builds are added, obviously. Right now we just have the initial one going, but it shows the progress, same as this here. But if we have 2 or 3, I can say, oh, I released this, in March, this one in April, and then kind of get a sense of, how often builds are going. Do I need to increase the scope, decrease the scope, whatever that might be. We do have our latest completed task as well. So this is just a quick view of saying, hey, these are the tasks that you just most recently completed. And it kind of allows me to say, all right, this is what I've been working on, whether it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, for whatever reason, I can pick up a little bit quicker knowing what the last thing that I was working on. Within our groups as well, the progress bars allow me to do that to the same extent. Since these are, groups specifically, I can say, okay, what what one is almost complete, maybe the main menu or the longsword here, and then I can focus on that before starting a different task and try and get this to 100% completion. If we switch over to the builds themselves, you'll see this is a more conclusive breakdown of that same thing with a lot more detail. So we have our actual build name here. We have our build version, and then again, date created, how many groups are in there. Those are our task groups. Those are the blues, right? And then the tasks within those. We don't show those here because we're kind of just doing an overview of the build itself. But it's letting me know how many total tasks, individual actionable items are in there, and then how many have been completed. And then again, same thing, target date, progress bar, and stuff like that. You'll see in the red cards here, we have things grouped together. So the red portions are considered our features, which we'll dive into here in just a second. And then the blues are the task groups inside of those. This allows me to focus on feature sets and essentially saying, okay, we want our creatures or our weapons to have these amount of features inside them or categories inside them. What are the things that we need to do to make that particular feature set feel more bolstered or complete, right? If I scroll down to the bottom, I can select any new thing here to add, and it will automatically either add it to an existing group or create a new group or a feature rather based on that. So if I say the game master and I hit add in here, you'll see the game master is now a new group because game master subsystem is built under that. And if I do the same thing for the game master player controller, I can hit add, and because they're both a part of the feature set game master, they get grouped together. So I can see progress of how those feature sets are coming along based on what's actually being displayed for this particular build. The reason that's done that way is if I go into our features, you'll see here are all our feature sets that are planned for the project entirely. So this is a place where I can just insert ideas without them being associated to what needs to be done for a particular build, right? The build is our roadmap of what's currently being focused on, but the features are the overall goals that we're trying to get done. You can see inside here I have multiple feature sets that we can come in. Some have more tasks than others, but it just allows me to kind of block out and map out the ideas that I want to complete overall for this project, and then assign them individual manageable bite-sized groups, which are the blues, right? So the blues are, again, these are bite-sized groupings of tasks. You can see I have various progress bars in here. So for example, my modules feature set, I have more done with the content browser and the module data asset than I do with anything else. If I come in and select modify on any of these, we then dive into the grouping of that feature set. So we can come in here and we can say, all right, these are our campaigns, our content browser, our module data asset, for example, and I can just come in and check off tasks, complete them as they're going, and then when I return back to our feature sets, those are now marked as green, and I can see those are actually completed, so I can continue working on, okay, maybe I need to work on persistent worlds or campaigns after that, and start focusing on those kind of tasks. At any point, I can come in and rename these just by double clicking, so it's all kind of embedded in there. If I want, I can come in and modify, add new task, I can rename them. If I come into our builds, for example, and I say new build, it'll throw a new build down here at the bottom, and we can call this build number 2, for example. And then inside here, we can start adding different things. So maybe we want to do, we'll just throw something random in here. Say zombies are going to come inside here, and giants are going to come in here. And that's now build number 2. We would then, remove those from build number 1. But if I come into the dashboard, you'll see that it's now set to build number 2 because that's the latest build. We can see how much progress was being made on the first build, and then we can now see the second build in there, and kind of keep track of those builds themselves. We'll go ahead and we'll just remove that because it doesn't really do me any good. And then we're back to our initial build for what we're trying to work on right here, and all the feature sets specific to that build. Outside of that, we have our assets. This portion is far less done, but if we click on it, we have all our asset groupings. And so these are the major types of assets that are to be created. And if I come in here and I select any one of these, let's say, I believe textures, you'll get our asset page. Now, obviously, this is not as stylized as the other portion. We just kind of have this portion roughed out rather than, actually built kind of to the initial completion like the projects are. But inside here, I can do things such as add new categories, which is what shows up on the left-hand side. And then I can also add subcategories, which are these here. So allowing us to break things down. So if I come in here and select texture, for example, I can say, carpet number 2, and then in my subcategory, I have carpet. But let's say maybe it's a tile. I can come in here, add a new subcategory, and then I now have tile as a subcategory, and I can hit add. I got to set up the filtering based off of the subcategories still. I need to assign tasks to these as well, so that if you're working on a carpet or a texture rather, it automatically adds in the type of task that you would need to do. So the albedo map, the normal map, the roughness map, right? Those things, for example, would all be a part of a texture. So based on the category that you select, and when you hit add, it would auto add those tasks in there, and then you can track the progress. Once that's all done, then I can kind of add dependencies to those at some point to say, okay, maybe this is being used in 2 of my projects. And so I can assign that out to say, it's for those 2. And when I look at the project itself, it'll kind of show, assets that are being waited on to be completed. And so if I see something that, World of Iniquity needs, for example, I can be like, oh, okay, well, let me go ahead and focus on that asset. But at the same time, it's all independent and allows me to just create things to be used later on, whether they have a specific purpose or not. It allows me to focus on creating our category of, or our library rather, of assets, and based off of the particular thing, allowing me to kind of enjoy some of the art side without it being tied specific to a project if need be. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. This is the big update for this week on the Modfest Orchestrator, our project management application. And as I kind of mess around with different projects, I'll continue to expand it. But yeah, thanks for checking it out.